Russia is catching up to Ukraine in drone production thanks to greater financial resources. Production lines far from the front lines and especially help from China. Chinese manufacturers provide them with hardware, electronics, navigation, optical and telemetry systems, engines, microcircuits, processor modules, antenna field systems, control boards, navigation. They use so-called shell companies, change names, do everything to avoid being subject to export control and avoid sanctions for their activities, said Ola Alexandrov, spokesperson for the Ukrainian Foreign Intelligence Service. Beijing has repeatedly denied supplying any drones or weapons components to Russia, calling Ukrainian protests baseless accusations and political manipulation. But Alexandrov said Russia has a critical dependency on the supply of Chinese spare parts for both tactical and long-range drones. That is allowing Russia to erode Ukraine's lead in drone technology and production, something that helped keep Ukraine in the fight at times when it was suffering from ammunition shortages and slow weapons deliveries from its allies. Pavlo Polisa, a former top military commander and now deputy head of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's office, said in a statement that so far this year, 80% of the damage to Russia's equipment and personnel has been done with drones. In May alone, Ukrainian drones destroyed 89,000 Russian targets. But Russia is catching up. Ukraine produces about 100 long-range drones a day, while Russia has managed to scale up production to 300 a day and is aiming for 500. Russian drone producers managed to boost long-range drone production from 15,000 in 2024 to more than 30,000 this year, as well as up to 2 million small tactical drones. Zelensky has been claiming that Russia has far more financial resources and also has access to Chinese technology, such as its DJI Mavic drones, originally developed for the civilian market, but widely used by both militaries in the war. However, Kyiv says that its access to new drones has been curtailed by China, while Beijing has placed no such restrictions on Russia. On such a maneuver by China, Zelensky said, "The Chinese Mavic is open to the Russians, and it is closed to the Ukrainians. They simply closed it for Europe and for Ukraine, including for the EU. And for the Russians, there is still an opportunity to buy drones on the Chinese market." Moscow is turning to drones operated by fiber optic cable instead of by radio signals, which makes them immune to electronic countermeasures. By using them, the Kremlin was able to largely destroy Ukraine's logistical routes in Russia's Kursk region, and succeeded in pushing out most Ukrainian troops from the territory they had seized in last year's surprise offensive. Russia is producing its long-range drones at its own version of Silicon Valley, a special economic zone in Alabuga, Tatarstan, where it has concentrated production lines for Iran's Shad drones, also known as Juran in Russia. The Kupol plant in Izhevsk, 1,800 kilometers northeast of Ukraine, produces long-range Garpia drones. In addition, major drone production lines are in the Moscow region, Ekaterinburg, St. Petersburg, and elsewhere. Meanwhile, Ukraine has reported that China supplies 80% of the critical electronics used in Russian drones, along with providing machine tools, gunpowder, and other materials to at least 20 major Russian military factories. It supports Russia's missile production with vital materials, enabling continued manufacture of the Iskander-M ballistic missiles, which rain down on Ukrainian cities. Without China's support, Putin's war machine comes to a halt, wrote U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham on social media. Earlier this year in February, a report, prepared by Estonia's foreign intelligence, claimed about 80% of Moscow's imports of critical components came from China, up from previous estimates of 60%. The report added that China's intervention was hugely undermining Western sanctions on Russia. This approach will likely decrease Russia's dependency on Western components and, in the long term, could undermine the West's ability to leverage influence in this domain. Russia doesn't have the required expertise to produce high-end drone parts locally, forcing it to look westwards. To evade sanctions, Russia is likely using the offices of Western companies in China, the report claimed. The report said Russia was looking to double down on its drone production, with focus on localized version of Iranian kamikaze drones. It also highlighted Russia's plans to expand its military to 1.5 million personnel, up from 600 to 700,000 in autumn 2022. Following concerning reports, a Western official said last year that there is clear evidence that Chinese companies are supplying military attack drones to Russia for the war in Ukraine. A spokesperson for the NATO alliance also called the allegation deeply concerning and revealed that allies were consulting on this matter. The UK and other allies have previously accused China of providing so-called dual-use products to Russia that could be used for military purposes. These include semiconductor chips, radars, and sensors that are needed when manufacturing a range of lethal weapons.